Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Wilbur Talks FPL, where we talk everything FPL and, of course, the Premier League in general. We are back after, only a week, shall we say, sabbatical, as we might like to call it in football, with the international break, but we're back ready for the next game week, and hopefully not too many international injuries to deal with, especially after some of our members of the podcast wildcarded last week, so I'm sure we want to avoid any injuries there. So, before we get into it, welcoming back Charlie, who is, I think you've been with us every year. Are you like always in, Charlie? I feel like you've not had a day off this year yet.
Yeah, I should get some paid leave, I feel like.
Gonna need it at some point, but yeah, Charlie's back with us. Welcome, Charlie, and we've got Sam back this week. How are you doing, Sam?
Very well, thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, back in the full complement. So when it comes to quizzing, because Charlie cannot beat Pete when it comes to quizzing in the first two episodes, so
I mean, you say cannot. I think maybe I'm just trying to be nice to him and let him win. I think that's more likely.
Yeah, as an extended guest, you're just trying a warm welcome, really, aren't you? There.
Exactly.
But yeah, you might claim some more credit when you against Sam later on. But yeah, we shall jump straight into it, guys. So we're gonna have just an overview of what we'll go through, of course. We're just going to have a quick look back at last week. Not a huge, great deal, seeing as though it's so long ago. Both Charlie and Sam were on a wildcard last week, so we're going to talk a bit about their wildcards and how they think they've done and how it's going to set them up for the weeks ahead. We'll do a standard quiz. This week it's going to be a bit international themed. Since it's an international break, I'll use the opportunity, and then we'll talk about the week we've got ahead of us. But so we'll jump into it and we'll go back to you, Charlie. So wildcard, which I think we briefly discussed kind of how we're going to line up when we was on the last pod. But can you tell me about kind of the standout decisions you kind of had on your wildcard, like kind of make or break decisions for you, and how the first week of your wildcard went?
Yeah, sure. So Salah was always going. That was never in doubt, really. I didn't have a single wildcard draft with him in. I was already kind of, that's part of the reason, I guess, why I did wildcard in as well, just to shift him on. I guess the kind of key decision then is where that money goes. A lot of people were looking at KDB. I just felt like, not that Foden could keep up with him, but I could get some returns from Foden within the ballpark, and I was never really going to captain KDB because of Haaland. It would always be Haaland over KDB in captaincy unless there's an obvious minutes risk. So I used the rest of those funds to go with Foden, and then that allowed me to get Kane in, which again nothing like we talked. I think the last pod how he kind of has gone a bit under the radar in terms of how consistently he's delivering points this season. So it was just kind of nice to be able to get on someone that's been doing actually quite well. Even though I kind of talk a lot about how I don't really like high expensive players that you're not necessarily going to captain, which I'm probably not going to. But in the end, you've got to spend your money somewhere. And I actually ended up on a wildcard draft. My wildcard has 2.2 million in the bank, I think, which is completely unlike anything I've ever done. Really, I would never advise anyone to leave that amount of money in the bank. But it was just I got to a draft I was happy with, so I just thought I'd do that. That gave me a bit more flexibility going into this week, for example. We'll get to it later, I'm sure, but I don't really plan to make any moves, and that'll give me 2 free transfers and 2.2 million in the bank to really change things if I need to. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was generally a success. So I scored. I don't know exactly what my old team would have scored, but I definitely did better than it would have done. And also, the main reason I wildcarded was because it was going to be basically what I kind of built a game week 9 wildcard draft, and it was pretty much the same team anyway. So I just thought I may as well get ahead of it on 1 week. And I've fortunately kind of dodged. I think particularly Isak is the kind of main one that I'm aware of that a fair number of people went on for a game week 8 wildcard and is now injured through the international break. I have dodged that, so that has definitely been lucky. But other than that, pretty happy, and obviously set up for the next few weeks to go through to the World Cup.
Yeah, I think Isak's out for 2 or 3 weeks, isn't he? I think like game week. So Yeah, he did dodge that one. I know Mitrovic had a bit of an injury, but I'm pretty sure that was after he'd scored a hat trick and just kept on the pitch with an injury. So from what I've
and
seen,
I think
he's
there was
pretty
some.
all right.
Yeah, and I think there were some talks about him still travelling to their next, whatever their second game is. So I guess there's more to come from that. But it sounds like it was nothing bad.
Yeah, he's like one of those like warrior types, isn't he? Where he just gets through it and gets beaten about a bit anyway. Yeah, I wondered about that when you said you had money in the bank because I had a brief look at yours and Sam's team comparing them, and I was like, how's Sam got all these premiums? And then I'm like, where is your rest of the money gone on your team? So that kind of makes sense about that 2 million in the bank. I feel like every time you get Perisic, that he won't get he'll get a return, but then he'll somehow manage to get 2 or 1 point every time. Every time you pick him, so a bit unlucky with that one. But yeah, it looks quite well set up for the week ahead. I think my team is probably a decent gauge of where you would be if you hadn't wildcarded, because I got 46, which is about 17 less than you. Obviously, when I compare to you, it always looks worse. When you look at the average compared to mine, it's only 4 down, which isn't as bad. So yeah, I think I'll keep on my team while we're talking about it, but I just had to accept that I was going to be a bit behind this game week, and I'm hoping on the game weeks ahead that I'm going to make some improvements in the fact that, for example, you mentioned you got rid of Salah. I've still got both Arsenal guys, so I'm thinking there's certain avenues that I could get some swings back in the opposite direction, but it can go either way, really, can't it? I'm just trying to look back and work out what my moves were. So I used 2 transfers last week, and I got rid of Robertson and got rid of Sanchez because I didn't trust Ward in goal. Got Pope in, and who did I get in defence? Oh, I just got Emerson, because that frees up quite a lot of money. Probably in a similar situation to you, Charlie, where I've got 2.5 million in the bank. So we'll talk about transfer plan later on, but that just gave my team enough. Well, I had a complete team playing, and then it just gave me 1 sub in case anything went wrong, and it's left me Trent and Salah, who were unused, of course, on the bench, who I'll have coming back in this week, which I feel like this is the 1 week where they could make a bit of a difference compared to everyone else. And as though, as you mentioned, people wildcarding, I don't think a lot. Well, maybe if you wildcarded this week, I think Salah is more of a question, should he be in? But especially if you wildcarded last week, it would have mainly been to take Salah out. So I'm hoping this might be one of the rare occasions that Salah will be a bit of a differential. So hoping to cash in on that. I also saw that he's returned early from international duty, so nice little boost there. But so over to you, Sam. I think we mentioned about Charlie's quite a bit there. Looking at your team, you've kind of gone for the free premium strategy from what I've seen. Trying to talk us around the thinking of that and how the first week of the wildcard went.
Yeah, I think first week of the World Cup was right, actually, to be fair. I was a little bit disappointed to start with because I've seen everybody else racking up points in other areas, and I thought might not even get above average here. But to get 60 points was pretty decent. I have also got about 2.3 million in the bank, actually, at the moment. Well, exactly 2.3 million in the bank, to be honest. But I wanted to keep a little bit in there in case I wanted to use that De Bruyne to Salah rotation over the next few weeks when Salah has a favourable fixture. I went for Mitrovic over, I think it was over Isaac or Tony, were the only other considerations that I was thinking of up front. I was pretty happy. I went for De Bruyne in midfield. He got me 10 points this week. I took a little bit of a punt on Almiron, which in hindsight, looking back at it, now having triple Newcastle might be a little bit of a risky one going forward, but they've still got decent fixtures, so we'll see how that one plays out. Yeah, overall pretty happy with it. Pretty happy that I've got some players on the bench. I know Patterson picked up a knock on international duty, which was a pain, but Andreas down there as well, still a viable option to bring in if I needed to. And it looks like Emerson's going to get some minutes in certain games, so pretty pleased overall. We'll see how we go for next week, but I think the plan for me will be to utilise that De Bruyne Salah rotation until the World Cup.
Yeah, I know we've also got money in the bank, and I think when you look at everyone's team, like a squad of 15, like even if you say like Patterson's out, you've probably got every other player in your team that will still play minutes, so it's quite I feel like unique situation compared to some other seasons. I think how the price of the game this season just makes you have a lot of options. Like even Andreas this year is a great option off the bench. Even Emerson that we've talked about as well. So not too many worries there. I know we said about Isaac, which you both avoided Isaac, but I quite like the fact that he's got injured. And I would argue that one fixture, that Isaac against Bournemouth, was their best one, and I would have been looking to get rid of quite soon. So I wonder if a few people might swap him straight to Tony to get another game against Bournemouth, which would be, well, were they playing Bournemouth the other day? I can't even remember, it's been that long. And it was Bournemouth, wasn't it, there before the international break? But yeah, I think Isaac is one of those ones people wanted to keep there, but I'm not sure it would have been ideal. So that injury creates up a few provoking thoughts. I've heard a lot of people mention about Solanke potentially going to him as well because he's a bit cheaper, but a bit of a more rogue pick, that one. It feels like a Timo Pukki from last season. But yeah, both of you made decent starts. Like I said, I think sometimes you don't see an immediate kind of bounce from the wildcard, but I think looking at the average of 50, you're both above average, so you got you going in the right direction. Where you're ranked now, Charlie, I'm assuming you're up there. I think we had this conversation before because I said, for anyone who is, well, I don't think I actually mentioned it on the pod before, my girlfriend's actually playing FPL for the first time and is up around Charlie's rank, and I said, I think she should take over the pod at this rate.
That would be a very interesting differential for pod host. We should definitely look into that.
Should try that one. Whereabouts are you ranked at the minute, Charlie? Because I think you're like 1 or 2 points ahead of her. I think we mentioned before.
Yeah. So I'm at about 75k.
75k. Very strong start, but I feel like that's the standard start for you, really.
Well, no, not really. It is, but like I would generally be aiming by Christmas to be around 100k if I can. That's kind of my benchmark. So yeah, where I'm at now is great. It's been really good.
Yeah, because at what point in the season last season did you have that really good spell where you ended up on like 20k and under for quite a few weeks, didn't you?
Yeah, that was pre-Christmas, and then it went downhill after that. So yeah, maybe I don't want to get there too soon. I want a gradual rise towards the end and peak at the end of the season. So yeah, we'll see.
Yes, I can see Sam's gone to about 850, and then I've regressed. I think this is the first red hour I've had since about game week 2, so outside the million, but we'll come back. We'll see. I think the issue with rank at the minute is that you look at the kind of rank tiers. If you went from like 500k to a million, there's probably about 10 points between that. It's not a huge threshold, so you can see over like 1 week a big swing, but it's not the end of the world. It's only a few points to make back. So hopefully see some green arrows. But yeah, you both look pretty well set up, but I'm hoping to keep track with you as we go through. So yeah, I didn't want to do too much of a catch up from the previous week because we don't want to waste time on that, and we want to look forward planning. So we're going to have a very early quiz, guys. I hope your brains are switched on early enough for a quiz.
This is early.
You weren't prepared for this one, were you?
Yeah, throwing us with
I'm almost certain that Charlie's going to win this week because I've logged into FPL a total of once in the last 10 days. So
I can probably
I've got no
less than that.
I've got no sort of 14-point results from last week plucks up my sleeve this week.
Well, you're lucky that it's nothing to do with FPL then. So, because we're on an international break, I thought we'd do a bit of an international football quiz, since though we won't get a chance to get into the World Cup. So bear with me when we go through this. So I want you to name countries that have won major national competitions. So I'm grouping this into 3 competitions. So I'm taking the World Cup, I'm taking European Championship, so obviously for European teams, and I'm taking Copa America. So I'm taking these 3 competitions, and I want you to name me winners of that competition since 1950. So I have to go so far back on this one because there's so many. Like obviously they only play for every 4 years. It'll be quite easy if it's the last 20 years. So I want you to name winners of the World Cup, European Championship, or Copa America between 1950 and now. That includes 1950 because there was a World Cup in 1950. If either of you knew exactly who won it in that year, just for reference. And what was my other permutation on that one? There are two teams in that period that have since changed name, so I'll accept however you give that name. You can take that however you want to take it, but it may become clear when we go down it, if that makes sense.
This is going to be ridiculous.
and I've also got a slight twist to this. So there's 19 teams in this list, and I've added the total of World Cups or Euros or World Cups and Copa Americas. So I'm going to add up the points. So, for example, if one of you, obviously this is made up completely, if Ghana had won the World Cup 10 times, I would give you a point, I would give you 10 points. So I'm going to total those points as we go through the answers and give you a bonus point, whoever gets the highest score.
Okay.
So
that changes the order that we want to name.
Oh my goodness.
So basically, you want to give the best answer first, or to benefit from that potential bonus point. I wouldn't worry about that, Sam, from the start. But basically, you want to
give the nation that's won the most first.
Yeah, that's basically start from the top.
Just to get them out, so that you've got them down, basically.
Right.
That's basically the premise of it. So there is 19 teams here. Obviously, the lowest is 1. So there's quite a few people that have won any of those competitions once. So you want to try and avoid them to the last, which you might have ended up doing anyway. So there's 19 teams. So does that make sense to you both?
Just about,
No, but we'll go for it.
It's because it doesn't make sense, Sam. I'll let you go first. So you could get a slight advantage on the bonus point by going first, in my opinion. So I'll give it to Sam. So do you want to start, Sam? So as I said, I'd advise you to go for the team you think has won the most of these competitions in that time frame.
Okay. Well, I think that is between 2 or 3, but I would be surprised if it's not Brazil.
So you're going for Brazil?
Yeah.
Brazil is correct, with a total of 11. That is 5 World Cups and 6 Copa Americas in that time frame. I will also tell you that is the top answer.
I missed the time frame. Sorry. What date are we going back to?
1950 to now.
Okay. Well, I mean that's fine anyway. I'm not gonna. I probably don't know anything.
Yeah, the reason I did that is because between 1920 and 1950, there was so many Copa Americas, and it just made the leading countries are so far ahead that point scoring thing would have been so irrelevant.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. There's a couple that we could probably knock off. I am going to. I want to ask something, but also I think I'll give something away if I ask it. Let's go with Germany.
Okay, Germany is correct. Germany is 4th on the list with 7.
So what's the crack with this bonus point thing now? Is that done?
No, so the bonus point...
It's overall by the end.
I'm going to add up throughout the game. You guys don't need to think about it, but when you get to the end, whoever has got the most total World Cups, I will give a bonus point to.
Well, just World Cups?
No, sorry, not World Cups. I meant every competition.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I didn't even say this in excitement, of course. If you get an answer wrong, you are out. So you might have a lead on the bonus point now, Sam, but Charlie could get you back at the end.
Okay, no worries.
I just wanted to add a slight different dimension into it at the same time.
Okay. I'm going to go for the reigning champions of the Euros, Italy.
Italy is correct, but they only have 4, which is a joint 5th.
Well, based on knowing that they've won the World Cup, I'm also assuming they must have won the Copa America a number of times. I'm going to say Argentina.
Argentina is joint 2nd with 8. I think your logic is pretty sound there. So yeah, they've won the World Cup twice and they've won the Copa America 6 times.
Those cheeky Argies, eh?
I'm not sure that's the most cheeky answer on here either.
I'm going to go for. Oh dear. I'm going to go for Spain.
Spain is also correct. That is another 4. So they would join with Italy.
Well, we may as well knock off the next obvious European country and go France.
They also have 4. Yeah, so you've knocked off everyone who had 4. So I'll give you the interesting fact. Well, I'll say interesting fact. Everyone else on the list has got 1 win, except for 3 teams that have got more than 1.
Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to go for Uruguay.
That is the shout that could have won you the bonus point there, because Uruguay have got 8.
Ooh, that must be a lot of Copa
I
Americas.
didn't know it's that many. But...
In that period, they have more Copa Americas than Argentina and Brazil. So they have 1 World Cup and 7 Copa Americas.
Wow.
So I'll be very surprised if you lose that bonus point after that. So I'm not going to lie. The fact you got Brazil and Uruguay.
We've got to not get one wrong first.
Well, even if you do, you'll probably still.
Yeah, in fairness, like if you went out on next guest and Charlie to get about 8 to keep up with that 8 from Uruguay.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine. Interesting.
It's going to get interesting now.
But it's interesting. Before Sam's answer, you was both actually level on bonus points because Sam got Brazil, but then you got Argentina and Germany, so it called you back. So that
drilled it.
That Uruguay one is just literally blown out of the water.
Now I could be playing a dangerous game with this one, but I'm pretty sure that. Oh, I don't want to go this way. Can you remind me of what that was a bit of a clue you said earlier? So there's 3 teams that have more than 1 left.
There's 3 teams that have won any of these competitions more than once. But so okay. you've Sam's said Uruguay, so there's only 2 of them left now.
Oh right, okay.
So bear in mind, this is 2 across those type of competitions. So someone could have won a World Cup and the Euros, for example.
Yeah, I just can't think of any of those that have done that. So all the ones I'm thinking of only won 1 of those competitions. So, but this is why I want to take a bit of a gamble here. I believe Chile won back-to-back Copa Americas because that was the whole period of Messi being in the mud. So I'm going to go with Chile.
Messi is always in the mud, and Chile is correct with 2, as you said.
Oh, very good.
That was actually, I think there was an issue with the Copa America, and the first championship got delayed, and they had back-to-back years of Copa Americas, and Chile won both of them.
Didn't they go to? I'm sure they at least went to 1 set of penalties, maybe 2. I can't remember, but
I feel like they beat Argentina once in the final as well, which was even better.
Yeah. Must have been Alexis Sanchez territory.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah. So that is
okay.
Great. So yeah, there's only 1 team left that have won more than 1. Everyone else has won 1.
Right. Well, I'm going to play safe on this one and go for England.
Yeah, you may as well play safe at this point. England is correct with 1.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pick out the other one with more than 1. Let's work backwards.
Yeah, I think in terms of game plan now, Charlie, you should write off that bonus point because it's highly unlikely you'll get it. And then
I'm just going to go for ones I remember.
If you beat Sam by 2 answers, then you'll still win because
overall, yeah, true.
It's only 1 bonus.
In very recent memory, Portugal won it with a very poor display overall. I'd have to say, very boring, but they won the Euros.
Could argue poorer displays to come on this list, but that is correct.
Yeah, I just remember
more recent.
And with
example.
Ronaldo going off in the final as well. I remember that as well.
Yeah, I remember him cheerleading on the side. Up to you, Sam.
Well, I've got a couple more. I believe that Ronnie's lot actually tasted defeat in a European final against the Stavros boys, Greece.
That's going to be my next one.
Yeah, that might have been the one I was referring to that was worse than Portugal's. And that is correct because I'm pretty sure it was literally, wasn't it like to the same two guys from corners every like set piece and managed to win them the Euros. Yeah, that is correct. We've won again.
Okay. We're getting into some interesting territory here.
I'm not going to repeat something I said very early on when I was explaining the rules. But if you think back to that, it should give you a hint to possibly two answers. But I'm not going to repeat what I said.
I can't remember. I was getting so bogged down with the rules that I can't remember.
I'm very pleased you just said that.
I thought that was a good way to say it without actually...
okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, given I've already named one of what I think you're talking about, I think the other one must be Czech Republic.
Czech Republic is correct, or I would have accepted Czechoslovakia as it was at that point.
Very good.
It's correct for one.
Okay, well, I have two more, and one of them is the Dutch, the Netherlands.
That is correct with one.
Right. This. I've got like two or three in my head, but none of them are guaranteed.
Yeah.
I seem to have some memory of Colombia winning a Copa America. Kind of early, early 2000s somewhere. So I think I'm going to go with Colombia, but I'm not 100% sure.
Colombia is correct with one. I don't think you were far off. I think it was 2000 something. I can't remember the exact year.
Yeah, I remember it being early 2000 somewhere.
Yeah, I think Chile and Colombia were the newest, the first winners for the most recent period, kind of thing. Because Chile's were both in I think it was 2015 or something like along those lines. But yeah, that is correct. So there's 5 answers left. And back to you, Sam.
Got my ace of spades ready to go in case I needed it. We're going for what I think was the first winners of the European Championships, the Soviet Union.
That is correct. That is the other one that I mentioned with Czechoslovakia and then the Soviet Union, or you could class them as Russia now. So that was the other answer, and that is correct.
Oh.
Yeah, because you said you thought you got one, and I was like,
well, no, because I was thinking about West Germany. I assumed that.
Oh yeah, I just it didn't. Yeah. It's not much different name, is it? Just putting a bit in the front of it. But
True.
Yeah, so we're down to 4.
Okay. Well, these are almost certainly going to be guesses from here on for me.
Yeah, we're kind of to the territory now where you've probably got to get them all right, Charlie, and then Sam's got to get his next one wrong.
Well, all of mine from now are guesses, so good luck. There's a chance.
There is still a team that has won 2 on here. I'm not going to say what they've won.
Still a team with 2. I can't think of an obvious one, so I'm at a guess going to assume it's a Copa America one that's got 2. But anyway, it's distant. I don't know what to guess. With that logic, I'm just going to guess one of the South Americas. I am going to go in honor of a very nice kit they had. Would it have been maybe 2 World Cups ago? I'm going to go with Peru.
Peru is correct. With 1 again.
Desperately just scrambling other.
So there's now three. There's three
You're welcome
answers
to use
left.
my logic if you like and go with nice
American
bits from
punts.
recent memory.
I'm just trying to think. I can't. I know for a fact we've got through all of the ones from the Euros. I know that for a fact. But there might be a slippery World Cup in there that we've missed. But I just feel like the rest of them are probably South America.
No, I'm not going to confirm or deny that statement.
Well,
We'll
I
tell you at the
can
end.
confirm from a factual point that the Euros is correct. I'm 100% certain on that on the ones we've got. So I guess that leaves South
That
American
makes me want to guess somewhere in Europe.
punts.
In case.
Yeah, I mean, you could take a shot at somewhere like Turkey, but I don't think they've done anything.
So if you get the next answer right, Sam, you can't lose. Not to put any pressure on this answer.
There's not really much pressure on it because I'm. It's
I mean, quite literally, the only other countries in and around South America / I wonder. South America / America.
I know what
I
you're
think
doing,
the
so-
USA might not be a bad punt here, but I can't think they've ever won anything in football. Still calling it soccer. That's a problem. I'll take a punt at. Venezuela.
Venezuela is incorrect.
Oh,
So you've currently named the same amount of teams, but there's no way Charlie can get the bonus point. So at the minute,
I need to get one to draw.
Yeah, at the minute Sam is 1 point ahead because of that bonus point. So it's 1 to draw, 2 to win, 3 to rub it in his face.
Well, there's no way I'm getting 3. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, so you want to, if you've got any ideas, you want to go with your safest one this time to secure the draw, and then maybe
there
go
are
for
no
one.
safe picks from here. I don't have anything to.
Well, there is 3, so there's a chance.
Yeah, I literally I don't even have any logic at this point. That I can talk out loud.
Just gonna get your kids out again.
Yeah. I don't know whether to maybe go for like a Mexico or maybe like I'm trying to think of not necessarily prominent because they won't have won more than if they've only won 1. Did you say there's still one with 2 or 3 or more than 1?
One of the three teams has more than 1. The other 2 teams have 1.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a Copa America one, so that's not going to help me. Maybe like a Mexico or like an Ecuador or I don't know. Just trying to think of any South American teams that play football that I know of that's likely to have won something. I'm just going to. I feel like they've got enough of a history of football to maybe have won something. I'm going to go with Mexico.
What do you make of that answer, Sam? Do you think it's correct or wrong?
I couldn't think. I must admit, I did not even have Mexico on the paper, but it seems if I had a thought of it, I probably would have guessed Mexico myself, so it's probably not a bad shout.
So Mexico have played in the Copa America twice from what I saw from the history, but they've never won it, so that is incorrect. Unfortunately. So Sam has won.
Who gets away with one? I feel like the more I think about it, I think the USA might actually be correct.
USA is also incorrect.
Oh, right, okay, fine.
Just a signature.
Can Sam lose a point for that, please?
So there's 3 answers left. 1 is European, 2 are South American.
One
There
is
is
European.
a European one. What, from the Euros?
Yeah, from winning the Euros, yeah.
No. Oh my goodness. Who is it?
Can we make a judge rule that Sam should lose a point for categorically saying?
I was trying to be smug
so
when
bad.
it was saying that.
Who is it?
Any guesses?
Hang on.
European?
It's got to be someone a little bit obscure, isn't it?
I'd say they're a half decent team now, but it's not a recent time they've won it.
Norway?
No. Shall I give you it?
Yeah, just
Go on, yeah.
It's in that region, Denmark.
Ah,
Wow.
I have no memory of that.
Oh, excuse my French. Bad for the pod. Sorry, well, we just lost your monetization on the episode.
Yeah, so that's the one you was missing from Europe, Denmark. Can't remember the exact year, but it was a few years back. Any guesses? 2 South American teams?
No idea. Yeah, I mentioned Ecuador maybe then.
That was also, but literally every team you listed was incorrect, so I didn't feel
Okay.
any sympathy.
The other ones, I was very sort of hesitant to punt on. Bolivia.
Bolivia had 1, that is correct.
Ooh.
And then you're still missing the South American team with 2 Copa Americas.
No, pass.
Paraguay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I would have guessed them.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like when you say it, you know they're around that area, but you don't. It's not one that first comes to mind.
Fair enough.
So yeah, thanks to that bonus point, you win some.
Excellent. GG.
And I'm pretty sure from my
GG.
from my records, Charlie was 2-0 up, but now you're winning 3-2, Sam.
Amazing.
So,
you love to see that.
So Charlie's losing his grip on every quiz that we play. And he needs to
It's a
bounce
marathon,
back.
not a sprint.
Bang,
we're
bang.
season ahead of us.
Will's firing from the hip all of a sudden.
Well, I had to come back at you both there, really. No one else in Europe, and then I'm like chuckling away, looking at Denmark on my list. But yeah, I feel like that was good in the end. After I explained it, it was quite good. But yeah, thank you both for that. We shall move on and try and look forward now to game week 9 in FPL. We actually have a full week of fixtures, which will be nice, and actually get some Premier League football back. So if we bounce back to you, Charlie, I think you pretty much said you had no transfer plans, so this might be a pretty easy question for you. Have you got any plans or any tempting moves that you could possibly go to before the deadline?
Yeah, I don't really have any plans. I think the only thing that would make me want to do a transfer is to try and get that money invested somewhere. It depends how comfortable I am for 2 weeks having 2.2 million out of my team. But I am pretty happy looking at my team and the fixtures and so on. So I think, yeah, maybe if we get like an injury update, or for example, I've got Bailey in my team. If we get any kind of indication he's not going to start or something like that, I could maybe see that being used. But I think my kind of longer term plan is to bring in Zaha anyway. Not too bothered about doing it this week with the Chelsea fixture, but then Palace have a really nice run, so that's probably where that money will end up going in midfield. But for now, yeah, I'm happy just to hold and then get the 2 transfers the following week.
You got any plans in terms of your wildcard if Liverpool start to hit some form? Would be the idea, like, I think you've got Kane having you up front. Would he be the sacrificial lamb, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to get rid of Kane. I'm like I said, he's been consistent, but he is very expensive for what he is. So there is that. There's also the fact that Liverpool's fixtures pick up again the same time that Man City have the blank. So that kind of presents itself as an opportunity to do a bit of a shuffle. I could see myself probably moving around Kane and Foden for Salah and whoever takes my fancy at the time as a striker, a cheaper striker, and potentially looking to bring in a Trent as well at that sort of time. Possibly, we'll just see how they go the next couple of fixtures if things improve defensively. So yeah, I think that kind of makes sense from a transfer point of view. Targeting that Man City blank for swapping around and getting in some Liverpool assets if they show enough in the next couple of weeks.
Man City and then Martinelli, so you have to move something with them, won't you, between now and 12? So that makes sense what you're saying.
Martinelli is probably likely to move on. I think I'm happy with him at home to Spurs. Spurs have shown whilst they can score, they can definitely concede. I'm not too bothered, and he has been probably one of the better value assets in the game. So up to this point, but also go after the Spurs fixture, we've got Liverpool and then also the blank in the future. So I think I'd much rather keep my City assets than keep Martinelli over the next couple in preparation for that blank.
I'm thinking about Martinelli at the minute, not sure if to move him on or just get through it and keep him there for that Leeds fixture in a few weeks and just ride it out, really. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. But yeah, it's definitely that game week 12 is your focus now after you've played the wildcard. What are your plans, Sam? Any immediate, I think you mentioned maybe like Patterson transfer you might need to make, or have you got any plans you're looking towards for the next few game weeks if you're not going to make a transfer?
Plan is to continue faking it until we make it. I am going to probably rotate De Bruyne for Salah, I think, for this week. And that's about it. We'll see what happens the week after when we get there. Expert advice on the FPL pod. No, to be fair, like when I picked my wildcard team, I was kind of picking it with a vision that it was going to be something I'd be happy with, rotating in and around the players for the next 7 or 8 weeks up to the World Cup. So it doesn't really make too much sense after 1 week in an international break to be going chopping and changing too much. I've only got one player that's got a little bit of an injury. The rest of it seems okay. Just rotate within what I've got. I'm probably happier having triple Newcastle at Fulham rather than the triple City against United. I think. I'm not sure, but I think. But even so, then yeah, I think it's okay. I think what we've got is fine. So see how it goes this week.
Yeah, I can say.
All influenced by that last at the Etihad, Man City United, City won 4-1, De Bruyne 2 goals and assists. Does that affect your thinking at all?
The problem is Haaland is very good. So if he continues in the form he's in, I think he might have a bit of fun against Martinez, who I actually think is quite a player, unfortunately. So I think Haaland's going to have a bit of fun. I think Man United, as much as it pains me to admit, are actually significantly better this season than they were last season. So I don't think they're going to be going and getting pumped about the pitch quite as badly as they would have done last season. Having said that, this is Man United, and they'll probably try and prove me wrong. I still think Salah is the pick for me this week. That was the plan. Brighton at home for Liverpool. Salah's got a pretty good record against Brighton as well, so I think the rotation is going to be Salah in this week. And I think he's dropped, so it's probably a little bit cheaper to pick up in price.
Throw that back at you, Charlie. If you were you in the same situation as Sam, would you change from KDB to Salah?
I don't know. It's a tough one. Obviously, in my own head, I made the decision not to go with KDB in the first place, based on the reasons I mentioned earlier. I think if I was in that, I guess it depends what else. If there's any other obvious changes to make, if you got no other changes to make, then probably fine. You would say Salah is at home, isn't it? So Salah at home to Brighton is a better game than De Bruyne at home to United. But equally, yeah, I'd be wary about chopping and changing, particularly out of that Man City team where you could absolutely see De Bruyne getting equal or more potentially than Salah based on current form. But also, yeah, like I say, it's probably if you're playing the fixtures game, it makes sense if you've got no other obvious changes to make.
Yeah, I think the fact that City are at home in that City game as well kind of wouldn't put me off staying with KDB at the same time, but I feel like if I was in some situation, I probably would make that move because it's over reliance. Your premium's on the one team, isn't it? Because if United do have a good game, it ends 0-0, or United get a win, then you could have two very premium assets blanking. So at least you're kind of spreading your risk there, aren't you, with Salah and Haaland, hoping that you don't have a situation where Liverpool and City both blank at the same time. So yeah, I think I would make that move in your situation, Sam. So interestingly, if you made that move, who would your captain be?
Well, I think that probably has to be Salah if you're bringing him in for that fixture. Having said that, kind of difficult to not captain Haaland at all now. So I don't know. It's the answer. We'll
Yeah.
deal with that one when we come to it.
Yeah.
Try and get the selection sorted first.
Yeah, I think I'm in. Well, I'm in a similar. Well, obviously, I'll be in the same position if you made that Salah transfer. And I feel like Salah will outscore Haaland, but the fact is, it's a lot more risky to not captain Haaland because if Haaland goes off and you don't captain him, it's going to do you more damage than Salah going off because a lot of people have got rid of Salah. So I'm quite tempted to captain Salah, but I feel like that to be like cover the potential risk of Haaland going off, I'll probably captain Haaland and enjoy Salah's points because not many people will be getting him at the same time. So I think I'm swaying to Haaland at the minute. And I assume the fact you don't have Salah, Charlie, that I don't really need to ask you much on that question.
No, not at all. It's going to be Haaland for me. Just whilst you mentioned that in terms of the damage that Haaland might do, I was looking up his ownership percentages. It's currently at 81% of the game, which is absolutely mad.
That must be a record.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think Jesus was up and around there at the beginning of the season as well, which was a bit alarming. But yeah, just for reference, that's over 8 million people out of just over 10 million that are playing the game. So have fun going against that, Sam.
All right, fine.
I feel like Jesus got to about 78% or something, didn't he? And I think that was the highest we'd seen. And now Haaland's gone above that. So, yeah, it's a scary ownership to go against, isn't it? So if we ignore your captains, guys, I'm going to ignore, for your purpose, Sam, you don't know who you're going to captain. So if you ignore Salah and Haaland, who's going to be the top scorer in your team this week, based on their fixture and how you think they'll do this week?
Interesting question. I have no idea. I don't know. That's a very good question. I might take a punt and say Mitrovic, Like Newcastle at home, it seems like a.
You just say you got triple Newcastle, isn't that going against you at the same time?
Yeah, well, maybe, but maybe Trippier and Almiron both score a hat trick, and Mitrovic scores 5. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a classic 7-6 Premier League all-time legend game. I don't know. To be perfectly honest, if Emerson plays, I think he's got a chance because Wolves are woeful. So if West Ham aren't much better, but they might keep a clean sheet. I don't know. I'm clutching at straws here a little bit.
Yeah, I'll mention my bench headache in a minute. But in terms of you, Charlie, what would you say in your team as well? If ignore Haaland, who's going to get the most points?
I think I would have to go with Maddison at home against Forest, who have, for the second time I think so far this season, have thrown away a lead. And yeah, just look a bit suspect rather, in terms of their defending, which was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, it gets said that Leicester games start 1-0, and that the same happened with them last week. And whilst I don't necessarily see Leicester by any means winning that game, in terms of their current form, they do still score, and I expect Maddison to be a part of it. So I think I'd have to go Maddison. But yeah, it's very much up for debate. There's quite a lot of equally levelled players outside of the obvious ones.
The perfect segue, Charlie. It's as if I pay you to do like a segue to my transfers. So we've not kind of mentioned my transfers. So I've only got one transfer because I used both of them last week that I've rolled. So I've got a bit of money in the bank, so I'm planning on. The original plan was to take GW8, who I don't really know I've got in my team in the first place, from Forest, go up to Maddison. But I'm slightly tempted to do Martinelli to Maddison instead, using the 1-1 theory you just said, Charlie, that the fact that I'd have a Forest player playing against Leicester and they never can keep a clean sheet. I don't think I'm going to say this many game weeks in the season, but I could see GW8 getting more than Martinelli. But it's one of those, like, decisions. So I don't think it's going to make much difference either way. And I've seen that GW8 is currently flagged, so he might just be the easy one to get rid of. So yeah, I'm planning to get Maddison in this week. However it goes, it's been so close to a price increase for about a week and a half now, and it's not gone up. So I've been enjoying that while it lasts. I think I've got about 0.1 buffer, so I can ride that increase if I need to. So yeah, my plan is to bring in Maddison for this week, and then, as I was kind of hinting towards, I've got a slight benching dilemma, because if I bring Maddison in, I've got no clue who I'm going to play, because my current bench is Bailey, Andreas, and Emerson, and like any of those could actually play in my team. Like Sam mentioned about Emerson, I've currently got Emerson last on my bench, but I can quite easily see him, if he plays, getting a clean sheet against Wolves. So you can even argue I've got Danny Ward on the bench. Obviously, the cursed Danny Ward at home to Forest, but yeah, this is one of those weeks. So I was like, obviously I'm not going to bench boost, but I'm quite happy for any of my players to really play. So I can see getting a few bench points, but I've seen quite a few people saying bench points aren't always a bad thing, because then you're going to have the players that people are going to want in the next few weeks. Well, I'm waiting for Bailey to return me all that value on the bench, but we might get there eventually. But yeah, it's going to be a benching headache, and I'm going to have to back, I think, Charlie's boys against Spurs to do something for me. It'd be nice if that's kind of like going backwards in FPL, isn't it, Charlie? If you've got Perisic, so if Jesus scores in the North London derby to wipe out your Perisic clean sheet, you're going to have great joy, and then look at your FPL team where it's not done as well. But I'm sure you would take that.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I will not care at all. I've actually got him on my bench at the moment. This may partially be influenced by the fact that I'm going to the game as well. So, yeah,
spicy.
That being said, I do have Kane, and I'm absolutely starting him. He will probably score, almost definitely. But yeah, I'm hoping that we can at least win 2-1 or 3-1 or something.
Yeah. So some, just briefly, we'll talk about the fixtures as well that we've got for the coming week. So you've mentioned, I was thinking you've got a good game, obviously, with the Manchester derby, and then we've also got the North London derby, so we've got some nice derbies in there. So I think that's a good segue back to you, Sam. Charlie obviously would be confident, well, hopefully wants to win. How do you see that North London derby going on Saturday?
Oh, in another unfortunate turn of events, Arsenal are also very good this season. So I think Arsenal have got a great chance. Was it last season that you won? Was it 3-1 at the Emirates? Yeah. And that first half an hour absolutely creamed them. I don't know. I think it's going to be close. Don't get me wrong. Spurs under Conte are a completely different animal. So I think it's going to be tight. I think it's actually going to be a draw. I think it would be a close game, but I could see it ending up being a 1-1, maybe even a 2-2. But it's a funny one, isn't it? Because like for so many seasons, Spurs and Arsenal would have looked at this game and thought, we absolutely have to win this game to secure top four. But now both of them are in a position where they've actually got an opportunity to challenge for, maybe even more than top four. So at that point, you look at these big games with the teams around you, and the mentality has to be just don't lose that game. So if Spurs can come away from the Arsenal at the weekend with a draw, that's a big, big result for them. But it's not even like a bad result for Arsenal if it's a draw. So I think it's going to be a close one based on the fact that neither team would probably rather lose. I think it's going to be a draw. I hope that kind of makes sense.
Because I think I'd be slightly edging Arsenal, the fact they're at home. I feel they have more confidence at them at home, and I think Charlie spoke about a bit previously about the atmosphere they're getting around the Emirates now, really more positive than they've probably seen in previous years. So I think that'll probably help them, and I'm sure that's what Charlie will enjoy embracing when he's at the match as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think both teams in the respective home fixtures would be hoping, or obviously be hoping for the win, but would slightly tip it in. So I would but slightly favour Arsenal in the home fixture and slightly favour Spurs in their home fixture. Because I do think that atmosphere will make a difference. But yeah, it's absolutely possible. it's going to be could be any result. I think it makes it all a bit odd coming off the back of the international break and straight into this being the first game, not just for them, but obviously of the whole Premier League this weekend. It kind of creates a slightly strange feeling rather than coming off the back of a week of football. But yeah, I've got no doubts the atmosphere is going to be insane. But it's like you said, I've already been talking about the atmosphere in general, but especially for the derby, it's always just on another level completely.
This week, actually, we've done it 1 or 2 times I think before. I'm going to make you all do predictions for me for these fixtures. I'm just springing that on you now. Just why not? So, what were you saying, Charlie? Maybe back in like a 3-1 kind of. Well,
I think I think it'll be closer, really. I am going to go, but it does tend to be high scoring, so I am going to give it as a 3-2.
3-2
to Arsenal. That is.
Oh, not sure about that. What are you going, Sam? Like a 1-1? If you think it's going to be pretty level?
Yeah, 1-1 for me.
I'm going to stick with 2-1. So none of us backing the Spurs win there. I'm not going to do these in order because I like to mix it up and confuse you. So I'll move on to which I will argue is a bigger game than that game. So City against United. What are you thinking on that one, Sam? What kind of? I think you said it could be quite tight. Do you think City will get the win, or what do you think on that game?
Yeah, I can see this game going on the lines of City score early, United try and get back into it, and City score a second on the break late in the game, so go 2-0 City.
How about you, Charlie?
I'm going to go for a 3-1 City. I do think you'll probably score. They seem to have a defensive error in them, City, but yeah, they're just so good now, especially with Haaland. It feels almost impossible to outscore them, so I can't see them losing certainly, and I think they'll get the win.
Okay, I don't expect this to come true, but I'm going 1-0 United. No, we
deluded.
We need to roll back the Solskjaer years where you can only get a result against City. That was literally the counter-attacking
So not only
style.
predicting a United win, you're predicting Haaland to not be able to score. That's an even bigger prediction, if you ask me.
Yeah, Martinez is going to have to wrestle him to the floor rather than go for the jumping out ability in the air. Yeah, like I said, that is very much a United fan prediction. That is not an expert.
Don't worry, mate. We know. Don't worry.
Right, let's move back up to the top. Back to you, Sam, since though you're digging it into me there. Bournemouth-Brentford, which might be an actual, quite an interesting game. What do you think, Bournemouth-Brentford? Bournemouth are at home.
Brentford win for me. Go for 2-0.
How about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I think Brentford win too. Bournemouth have been okay, but it feels like Brentford have had a bit of an upwards curve recently. I think I'll go for a 2-1 Brentford.
I'm very tempted to go high scoring here because I want another Ivan Toney hat-trick, but to be different, I'll go with 3-1 with an Ivan Toney hat-trick. I feel like this might be the last week we have Ivan Toney in my FPL team, so he needs to go over that. Another pretty interesting game, Palace-Chelsea. I'll come to you first, Charlie, this time. So you can't keep copying Sam's scores now, joking. What do you think, Palace against Chelsea?
I think it's interesting because you could definitely see this. Chelsea have a slip-up in them, and they've been... Well, I don't think anyone in the league really has been great defensively. So I could definitely see Palace getting something out of this, but equally kind of feels like there's a better feeling around Chelsea. Obviously Potter coming in, he's had a bit more time to work with, at least the ones that are around. I think I'm going to go with the 2-2.
Interesting. I'll stick mine in there before Sam's, and I'm going 2-1 Palace. Because I think Selhurst Park is just going to be too much for Chelsea, and I'd enjoy Potter losing his first game. Well, first game after the international break. Did they actually play before? Oh no, they had the Champions League game, didn't they? I knew I'd seen him on the touchline, but he's not played a Premier League game yet. So. What are you thinking, Sam?
I am thinking 1-1.
I was hoping you were going to go Chelsea there to have one where we have a result every way possible. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Nice range of scores there. Stay with you, Sam. A lot of FPL interest, as we've discussed throughout in this fixture, Fulham against Newcastle. I'm sure it's not going to be this 7-6. I'm sure you're not going to predict that one.
No, I'm going to go for 2-2.
2-2. So that's going to be a Mitrovic double, Trippier and Almiron for Newcastle. Yeah. Charlie?
Hopefully.
I think I'm going to go 1-1. It does feel kind of destined with his history for Mitrovic to score against Newcastle, but equally I can see them scoring against Fulham. So yeah, 1-1 seems the easiest prediction for me.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one, this one, isn't it? I think Newcastle are going to edge it. So I think I'm going to go 2-1 to Newcastle. But I was tempted to even go 3-2 to Newcastle, but I'll go with 2-1. Mainly because I don't want Mitrovic to do any damage like the last game either. Well, I feel like we should let Sam start with Liverpool against Brighton. Sam, what are you saying?
4-0.
No delay.
Straight in there, cutthroat.
Yeah, Brighton just lost the manager. Liverpool, not exactly in the best form, but a couple of big results before the international break, particularly that turnaround against Newcastle, and then the Ajax result in the Champions League was big. Salah back early. Darwin Núñez scored for Uruguay. 4-0 for me.
Good point there. Are you going to match that optimism, Charlie?
Don't blame you if you don't, but
I do think it's a fairly comfortable Liverpool win. It's going to be interesting to see how Brighton manage post Potter, but equally the sounds of, I don't know much about their new manager, but from what I've heard, it sounds like the exact right kind of appointment for that team and kind of carrying on what Potter had done. But it's going to take time for that all to work through. So I think I probably see a Liverpool win to 2 or 3, let's say 3-0.
I was going to say 3-0 as well. I'm still going to stick to 3-0. First time I'll have to say. But yeah, I'm interested to see how Brighton do as well. I've heard interesting things, like you've probably heard about the manager. I think it was Swallow, he was up for quite a while in Italy, wasn't he? And did quite well with them, and then they went to Shakhtar. I think it's that kind of football that can work and do very well, or if people work you out, it could go quite badly. It's just if they can get into the rhythm quite quickly, but I don't expect instant results, especially away at Anfield, so I expect Liverpool to get the win and Salah maybe in the goals. Stay with you, Charlie. Another one of these ones, Southampton, Everton.
This could probably be anything. I don't think there's even an obvious winner or who might do better in this game. I think Everton have improved, certainly defensively. Still have a bit of an issue with scoring goals. And Southampton, you never quite know what's going to happen in any of their games. So for that reason, I am going to go for a 1-1. I think that feels like a safe prediction.
I'll go 1-1. That's the way.
Yep.
What do you think, Sam? Southampton, Everton.
yeah, I'm still not. I think Everton are improving slightly, but I think Southampton are going to win this game. So I'm going to go for 1-0 to the Saints.
We'll go in low scoring here. I was probably tempted between both of those score lines, so I'm trying to. I can't see it. I'm not even tempted to go for a 2-1 because I don't see many goals at all in this game. I'm tempted to even just go for a 0-0. There you go, we're going boring, we're going 0-0. I'll start us for a change, and I'll start on West Ham against Wolves. I think West Ham just need to get some wins on the board at home. I think they've got to get the win here. I'm going to go for 2-1 to West Ham in that game. How about you, Charlie?
Similar logic, but I don't see Wolves scoring. They just have not been great going forward really. West Ham, I don't think West Ham have been great either particularly, but just not as bad an extent as well. So I think I'm going 2-0.
Okay. And you, Sam?
1-0 West Ham.
Pretty similar there. We're liking to keep the scores different, but go for a similar kind of result. I'll start with you, Sam, this time. Second to last one, Leeds against Villa.
Yeah. This is
I think
this is the joker. This is the wildcard result. Oh man. Hmm. 2-1 Leeds.
Okay, Charlie.
Yeah, similar feelings about this fixture. I don't quite know what's going to happen. I can see goals. Was tempted to look at Sinistera for FPL, particularly for this fixture. I think I'll go with 2-2.
2-2. I think I'm going 3-1 to Leeds. Because I don't think Villa are great at the back, and I think Digne is also injured now as well. Well, that could be a good or a bad thing depending on what side you sit on. But yeah, I'll go 3-1 Leeds. I think that home advantage, but then I still don't see him keeping a clean sheet, so 3-1. And last one, Leicester against Forest. I'm going to start and throw a load of goals out at you. So I'm going to do Leicester to win 4-2. So what do you think, Charlie?
Well, as I said earlier, it's at least a 1-1. I'm going to go... Again, yeah, it's difficult to actually see. I can almost guarantee there'll be goals, but you can't quite say. They've both got a bottle in them. So either team could go a couple of goals up and still lose the game. So let's just go out there and say 3-3.
Throwing the goals about in this game, especially when Danny Ward's involved. And to complete the set, Sam, what do you think?
2-1 Leicester.
You said 2-1.
2-1, yeah.
The lowest amount of goals. We're disappointed in you. Danny Ward's got to get at least a -1 for 2 goals conceded. That's how it works. But yeah, I'll mark us and I'll come back with the scores that we actually managed to get correct and give us some marks when we come back next week to see how we've done on them. But is what we've kind of gone, I think doing the score prediction there gives us a kind of indication of what we think from FPL terms. But is there anything either of you wanted to add on before we end for this week?
No, good for me.
No, all good.
Stuff. Great. So we should, trying to think how Champions League falls. It might be we're into Sam and Pete rotation maybe with the Champions League. I'm not sure what day Liverpool are on next week, but we will find out either way. So
I think we're on the Wednesday.
You're on the Wednesday, so
I think so. I'm not sure. I'll double check, but
yeah, so you should be in for next week. But
yeah, I think so.
We might have a rotation option if needed for the week after or whatever. So it should be back, the 3 of us, similar time next week. It should be back on the Tuesday at 8 as we try to aim for. But for now, good luck for the next game week, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your evening.